What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Derek O'Shea Show. If you don't mind making sure you subscribe to me, following me, checking me out on the YouTubes. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. But as always, we like to start the morning off with a little bit of coffee. And what the F is CNN talking about? Okay. We'll start off with this. The 159 people missing in the Florida collapse. That is literally one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I don't understand how that even collapsed. I feel like we're in a third world country as more people flock to Florida because Florida is so great. And I've seen those t-shirts like, Make America Florida Again. Hilarious. Love that shirt. But this is really sad. And it's honestly something like out of a third world country. And I don't know if you've seen the footage and the videos of like firefighters trying to break in to different areas to see if people are inside underneath the ground in the parking garage underneath. That's just insane. That's just the heroism it takes just to stand underneath a building that you know is already collapsed and trying to pull apart rubber, which could create something else happening. Is incredible. Shout out to those guys that are there. I didn't see any women. No offense, women. It's 2021. You got to be careful. You can't just say these things. All right. But 159 people are still missing. 4 people are dead, pronounced dead. I read reports of saying that the 159 people are missing, but the way the building fell down, it was one on top of another. So they're just kind of being nice right now. So it's really sad what's going on there. My heart breaks for those families, and my heart breaks for the people that are involved and just people that know the people that are inside and stuff like that. And could you imagine being in that building right next to it? I mean, you probably hear things while that building's going down. Just terrible stuff. But let's continue to go down let's bring it back up a little bit. Pence contradicts Trump at the January 6th, calling plan to certify 2020 election un-American. Oh my God. CNN, MSNBC, these people cannot quit Trump no matter how hard they try. They want to try so bad. They want to, but they realize the ratings rely on Trump. You know, I think some of these people, especially Brian Stelter, shout out to the 2,000 books sold. It's probably more books than I would sell. Actually, no. I think I know more than 2,000 people who would buy my book. But but I'm also not propped up by the media and, YouTube. You know, if you watch one of my videos, you might get a Brian Stelter video next because I have no control over that. But YouTube wants you to see their videos because he's reliable citations with Brian Stelter. That's my new name for him. But they're going to continue to try to create more dissonance between the Republican Party. And this is the new hot take of Pence contradicting Trump. And, the feud between Pence and Trump is growing. They hate each other with a passion. But let's get into the real story of the day. Democrats hammer Kamala Harris, for spot she chose to visit border as Harris denies GOP's pressure to lead trip. Another headline from Daily Mail. Harris finally jets off to the border 93 days after being made immigration czar. 93 days. As I saw a interview with Biden saying, hey, we were just waiting. Kamala was waiting for all to make sure it was going to be okay for her to visit. She doesn't want to cause a stink. Doesn't want to cause a little stir up. And is that really it? No, I thought she was going to the root cause. AKA, the root cause is the border, because it's wide open and it's being flooded. But as always, Democrats, liberals, they will do their best not to address actual root causes. That's why you see Chicago, crime exploding, Baltimore, Minneapolis, D.C., New York, crime's exploding. You know what we need to talk about? What do we need to talk about? Oh, yeah, gun manufacturers and people who sell guns. Those are the real issue. It's legal people going to gun stores, buying guns, and then those legal people with no criminal background checks or no criminal history are taking those guns, going across state borders, and for the first time, they're killing people. The logic it takes to get there is honestly the most ridiculous thing you could possibly think of. as somebody who is a gun owner and doesn't do those crimes and happily can pass a FBI background check. My favorite thing was when Joe Biden was talking about people messing up background checks, and I was just like, what about your son, Joe? You going to get after your son? Because he did that. And then he also threw, was it him or his girlfriend threw the gun in a trash can? Prosecute will never happen. Anyways, 93 days after becoming immigration czar, Biden, and after denying Trump, forced her hand with the visit next week. We'll see. Anyways, let's continue down the story. I'm going to exit that. I can't stand, Daily Mail is some of the worst. Let's do this story through Daily Mail because I like Daily Wire because I like to hear the conservative side. Democrat Vice President Kamala received criticism for her own party this week over the spot that she chose to be visiting on Friday, the U.S.-Mexico border, with one Democrat lawmaker calling it a politically safe trip. And that's 100% of what it is. Because I made the prediction that, A, she would go to the border during the hottest point of the summer, the hottest possible point, because of course it's going to be the lowest amount of people crossing the border during the hottest part. I thought she would go in like July 26th, July 25th, late July, mid-July, somewhere around there, because it's really hot and people just die like crazy trying to cross the border at that time. That's why they've already made the trek. You go through the better times, but she's going to El Paso, and which is funny. Harris was called out earlier this week by Republicans for selecting El Paso as opposed to the Rio Grande Valley sector, which is where majority of the immigration problem is at, which is more than 1,000 miles away. That has been the hardest hit by Biden's border crisis. Why would Harris choose El Paso when over the areas of the border like RGV or Arizona, a Washington Post wrote on Twitter, in El Paso, she can be hosted by Representative Veronica Escobar, who has been reliably supportive. Of course, Kamala Harris needs people that support her and prop her up and encourage her, like Instagram. When you go to their gifts section, you see like, Kamala Harris, powerful woman. What a story. She came from nothing and she has everything. She's so great. I don't know why I just did Trump, but they just prop her up constantly because when she is actually pressed on issues and pushed on issues and has to do interviews, she looks horrible in these interviews. She just looks terrible because she can't hold the conversation unless it's actual. Just, yes, Kamala, I love what you're doing. You're doing so great. Yeah, I'm speaking. Okay. She can't engage in arguments. She doesn't know her facts very well. And when she's pressed back on issues or challenged in any capacity, she tends to freak out. That's why she never did good on any election campaigns. And that's why during debate, she looked terrible. I mean, that moment between her and Tulsi, so many of my liberal friends just like forgot that. Like, you had great candidates, but you guys chose Biden and Kamala, two of the worst. I just don't understand the liberal logic. No, I don't understand like the powers that be who choose. That's why they hated Trump so much, because he was against the narrative. Who has been reliably supported? The RGV, Loretto, AZ Democrat lawmakers have been critical of Biden's admin, want more enforcement. Republican Henry Killer, Democrat of Texas, whose district is in the Rio Grande Valley sector, told Fox News this week that Harris's trip was a politically safe trip. Even Democrats are speaking out against what's going on in Texas, and especially those in these districts, because people that live in these districts that voted this person in are watching. And I think even Henry is getting nervous, saying, I'm going to be voted out if you don't come down here. I'm be real honest with you. I'm going to be voted out because I can't do anything more, and you're making me look bad. He continued to say, I have no idea, Cooler said. Seller said that when asked why the Biden administration has waited so long for this visit the border, but I'm sure her planners told her that if we're going to go down to the border, go to a something that's safer and go to like something that's safer and go to like a that's politically safer. If you go down to the lower Rio Grande with high activity, you're there with the kids and families, prosecutorial discretion, where people are being released, high numbers of people crossing the border, politically. That it's harder to do that. And I know that. I mean, that's part of my district. But you got to do what you got to do. Man, this guy speaks beautifully. He's like a poet when he talks. Cooler added, you just go to one. This quote is so bad. Just go to one place. But she does do the check box and go down to the border. Yeah, did this person debate? But yeah, it's a safe trip. She's doing what she has to do. And for reference, I pulled up this. So this is El Paso. And it takes about 11 hours of driving just to get to the Rio Grande Valley. 11 hours away. 11 hours. She's close. She's gonna get there. She's doing her best. She's made the decision to finally go to the border because of Donald Trump. I don't think, honestly, you tell me, if Donald Trump never said anything, would she have gone to the border? I'm honestly unsure, because I was betting mid-July, late July, but now that Donald Trump is pressing it, I think she changed her plans. Harris's decision to visit the border came after President Donald Trump announced last week that he will be visiting the border because it had been abandoned by Democrat President Joe Biden and Harris, and it has. It really has. And it's been a terrible crisis watching children being dropped off, children being let go, females being constantly told about being raped and abused, and people just bat an eye. They're just like, no. If you read like liberal sources like I do, I read MSNBC and CNN, they just say things like, no, it's just good people escaping the horrors of where they came from. And you're like, that may be true, but it's not the whole truth. You're also neglecting some of the atrocities and the horrors that have taken place just for those people to cross the border, especially some of the weaker people like the children and the women. Those people were taken advantage of. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. If you're trying to get to America and you want to do whatever and you have children, the things that would take place for some of the men, especially the cartel men, and what they would do to those women, my heart breaks for it. My heart breaks for what goes on at the border, and it should break your heart too, because I've seen the videos and just seeing those kids being dropped, thrown across the border, and just left alone, like 5-year-old children, 5, 6 years old children, just being left alone in the middle of the desert at night. Those kids, so many of these kids are gonna need trauma therapy, and you think I'm joking? I'm not. These kids, there's so much developmental brain activity that goes on in the first 5 to 6 years of your life. And if you experience some real trauma and horrors in those few years, you create not terrible, just really bad ways to deal with things in life. And you especially create a lot of dissociative properties where you disassociate when things get rough or things get bad. And it just creates a lot of negative things you don't want to see in people. And these people are going to need a lot of therapy in order to get through it. And it's just bad. And people act like, a lot of us, we're in our houses, apartments, whatever, and we see people crossing the border, and you're like, you just don't even think about it, and it's honestly sad, and we need a border wall bad. Quote, if this were bad enough, Biden and Harris won't even tour the scenes of the wreckage they created and come down to visit the border patrol and ICE heroes risking their lives to defend the nation. And speaking of that, They are risking their lives because ICE and Border Patrol have taken down suspected terrorists. That story was quickly squashed by everyone, which is very weird. You have people from Africa just going across the border because if you're a criminal, what's the best way to get in America? You go across the border and just get flooded in with a caravan of people. This is from Trump. What Biden and Harris have done and continuing to do on our border is grave and willful dereliction of duty. Nice. My visit will hopefully shine a spotlight on these crimes against the nation and shows the incredible people of ICE and Border Patrol. I think Trump should go to this district, and I think he will, because that's always a good one-up, and that's a good ploy. If you're a politician, it's an easy win. Even if you're a politician and you've created a horrible thing, you've created a horrible outcome, you should go to that horrible outcome because it makes you look better. It makes you look like you actually give a damn. And right now, as always, Kamala Harris doesn't. And the media is going to do whatever they can to make her look better. Look, she's at the wall. She visited the border wall. She went to El Paso. Yeah, it was a lot safer. And yeah, there's a lot of pushback and all that stuff. But she went. And she's never been to Europe yet. I mean, give her a break. No, I won't give her a break because she's a terrible politician and she's a liar and she knows it. Harris' office claimed that the pressure of the Republicans did not contribute to Harris visiting the border, despite the fact that she suggested during a disastrous trip to South Central America, which I loved, keep putting the camera in front of Kamala Harris. Please, God, keep putting the camera in front of her. It makes her look terrible. That visiting the border was a grand gesture. Of course it was. It's a politician going on vacation, doing a couple speeches. Oh, and find out that no one there actually likes her. Some of my favorite scenes was seeing when she showed up and people had like, go away, Kamala, and Trump won and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, this is what happens when you're a rich white liberal or just a rich liberal who have, been in private school your whole life. You just assume what people look like. You assume they are okay with your agenda. But people that have been through horrors and various socialist regimes, communism and stuff like that, and know people that have experienced that as well, they know what your policies lead to, and they're not for that. The administration does not take cues from the Republican criticism. That's so funny. Sure you don't. Nor from the former president of the United States. Sure, Harris' office claimed in a statement. We have said over a number of different occasions, and the vice president has said over the last 3 months, we have said over the number of different occasions, and the vice president has said over the course of the last 3 months that she would go to the border. She has been before. Even though Lester Holt said, no, you haven't. And I haven't been to Europe. She will go again. She will go when it's appropriate and when it makes sense. The reason she hasn't been to the border is because it's been inappropriate and it hasn't made sense yet, okay? It hasn't made sense. She's been busy. Doing what? Working on the crisis. Jeez. News broke on Thursday that multiple aides for Harris are quitting. Oh, are the media going to report on this? No. Is CNN going to say anything? Because I remember every time an aide or somebody that worked for Trump in the White House that quit or left or something like that, they made a big stink about it. Like, oh my God, so he can't even keep a couple of people. He can't even keep. They're just dropping like flies. They're dropping like fries in my lap, and I'm eating them. They made a huge stink after every single person. They're just like, oh my God, he's a tyrant. But then they see this. Multiple aides quitting from Harris. How do we spin that? These aides decided to retire early. No. You know why they're quitting? Because Kamala Harris is probably a terrible person. But she needs help too, okay, guys? Thank you guys so much for tuning in this show. Let me know your thoughts on this woman, Kamala Harris, because she's like the politicians that I just can't stand. Just all talk, no action, and also not only the action she wants to push, I ain't for that. And you shouldn't be either, because it'll destroy this country and make it harder for you and I, or those of us that aren't incredibly rich, incredibly powerful, have all the wealth. Maybe you're like me and you live in your one-bedroom apartment. You're dreaming of buying a home one day. Her policies will make that harder and harder and harder as we're watching inflation continue to rise. Yay. So, and then we have, BlackRock buying up properties, and, they'll build. If they messed up and, the housing crisis hits, they'll be bailed out by me and you. So that's why I'm not for that. Okay, Ben Shapiro, have a fantastic day. And I got another news segment coming out later for lunchtime. I hope you have a fantastic day. As always, I'll catch you on the next episode of The Derek O'Shea Show.